welcome to the third episode of Fintech Firebrand. I'm the founder of Firebrand Research, Virginie O'Shea, and I'm here to chat to you about all this month's FinTech and FinReg news. Now, one of the big topics this month has been on the topic of diversity. So if we look at the US to begin with, the SEC has come back, posted on its website a few weeks ago, that the application by NASDAQ to require companies listing on the exchange to have at least one diverse director by the end of a year has been stalled as the SEC is keen to receive much more industry feedback on the proposals. Now, I think this is going to delay things. We expected this to have been approved by now, or disapproved by now. So we expect that this might push that decision back to at least the summer, maybe even autumn, with regards to when we might hear back on that. But it's certainly one of the biggest moves around diversity as part of the banner of ESG as well, on the S bit of ESG. So this is certainly something interesting that the industry's been talking about a lot. It's certainly a controversial topic, so it polarises communities. So it will be interesting to see what the industry feedback is on this topic. We await the decision of the SEC once it's gathered all that feedback from various industry stakeholders. Now, anyone wanting to provide feedback can go to the SEC website. There's a portal there that you can upload your comments to, which is an important thing to do because obviously the regulator wants to make the right decision for the industry as a whole. Now, turning to the UK, it may be inspired by what's going on with NASDAQ. The Financial Conduct Authority, the regulator here, has said that they're also interested in the topic of diversity and disclosure around that area. So Nikhil Rathi, who's the new head of the FCA, relatively new head of the FCA, has been considering whether diversity of management teams at the firms it regulates should actually form part of its senior managers regime, which is SMCR. A firm has to name a senior member of staff who's accountable for an activity. The policy in the US will be eventually, rather than one, which is only within the year, to have two diverse directors. So Rathi was speaking at a recent Women in Finance event. The International Women's Day was at the start of this month, and many things happened around that. There was discussion there as part of the Women in Finance Charter that was launched by the Finance Ministry a few years ago. We're thinking about how we change some of the targets, how we change the industry, how we move and make things improve around industry diversity. So this is part of this investigation. So Rathi said this is going to be something that they're going to be talking about over the next few months, and we can expect to hear much more on that topic going forward. And another topic that I discussed in the last episode that's worth updating is in the US. The House Financial Services Committee had its second hearing of the GameStop debate. So they discussed a lot of different topics, wide-ranging, everything from the financial transaction tax through to protections for the retail investor, and also one of my favourite topics, T+1, or the move to T+1. Since the last discussion we had, the DTCC have come out with a proposal to move the industry to T+1 within the next 2 years. So that's certainly an important move. It's something that the industry should be providing feedback on over the coming months in terms of the challenges to move to T+1. But that was certainly a debated topic there. There was also quite a lot of discussion around governance and the responsibilities of senior managers. So it did sound a little like there may be some more governance requirements coming in for US firms with regards to accountability and making sure that compliance is not just, or fines are not just seen as the cost of doing business. So there's certainly a lot of different things and proposals that could come out of this GameStop incident. So certainly something to watch and continue to watch. There's a third episode coming up at some point soon too. So I'll be looking out and watching out for that. Now, my Jerry Springer final thoughts for you this month are related to a topic that's close to my heart and certainly something that's very important for the industry. I'm just about to launch the first ever regulatory reporting maturity assessment. Now, compliance teams have had a lot of challenges over the last 5 to 10 years. After the 2008 crisis, we've had a deluge of regulation and compliance that we've had to deal with. lots of it related to various reports that we have to produce within certain timeframes to various regulators in various formats. Now, one of the biggest challenges was sort of going through all of this alphabet soup of regulation, understanding and interpreting exactly what you had to produce and when, sometimes adding in new data items that we haven't ever had to report before, and also making sure that that data was of high quality, given that the regulator was threatening to investigate it. Now, the regulators have become much more sophisticated than they once were in terms of interpreting and understanding the data. They're spending their own dollars in terms of regtech and what they call subtech, which I absolutely hate as a term, but looking at supervisory processes and ways of understanding the data that they're being submitted by various firms. Now, something we all have to think about is how strategic have we been as an industry at meeting all these requirements, and are we consistent across the different data sets, the different reports that we're producing out there. So certainly something that I think is of increasing importance in the market at the moment. The DTCC have just put out a paper on the topic of OTC derivatives reporting, just to highlight my point there, looking at some of the areas of commonality and some areas of challenge internationally with regards to those data, adoption of different data formats, data standards. Now, in a perfect world, every regulator would be asking for the same things in the same format, but we all know politics gets involved when it comes to regulation. And unfortunately, we're likely to have more further divergence. In Europe, for example, related to Brexit, there's obviously lots of different dynamics with regards to politics all over the globe that we have to bear in mind. And even when we look at regions, I mean, the Asia-Pacific region is a lot of different markets. They're not necessarily very cohesive or very similar at all. So likewise with Africa and the Middle East. So we think about this and we think about how we can join up the ways that we approach providing all of similar information to multiple regulators. And that's certainly something that's of top of mind to me. And I think a lot of it relates to how we deal with the underlying data, how we store that data, how we cross-reference that data. Now, my maturity assessment that's being launched this month is to help firms understand where their weaknesses and their gaps lie, understand on a 5-point scale. It's our proprietary 5-point scale that Firebrand Research has created, and it assesses firms on these rankings in terms of where they compare to their peers. So essentially, once we know the sort of common industry statistics in this area, we understand how many technology platforms people are using, how long it takes to add various data items, how frequently people are revising their reports, and how strategic versus tactical they are being with regards to regulatory compliance and reporting in particular, be it trade or transaction reporting. Then we can move forward and understand where, as an industry, we need to improve. And as a firm, you may need to improve. So that's certainly something that I think is important. And I would ask you all, hopefully I will be able to send you the link, but please do drop me a line and make sure that you ask as many questions as you want about the assessment, and do share it with your peers as well.